You're right, lads. It's Ken Dog here, and today I'm joined by
Kokujolong or Coco,
And today, in our fourth episode of Robots in Sweaters, we will be talking about a movie that we both saw on Monday called Don't Breathe.
yes. But first, Kent, how was your time in between episodes 3 and 4, which I believe has been 2 months, 3 months?
2 or 3 months, yeah. I was recently watching quite a lot of films, TV shows, and video games. Well, obviously I wasn't watching them, but I was playing them, but you get the drift. TV, I was watching Rick and Morty. I finished the entire season. That was fucking awesome. Left it on quite a big cliffhanger.
First season or second season?
Both.
I've only seen the first season.
The second season's even better than the first.
What's your favourite episode of this first season? While we're still here.
I think it's the third episode where those weird pinky aliens with like 6 arms try and get Rick to get him that like
the
weird
scam
oil.
artists.
Yeah, that one. That was pretty fucking hilarious, and the ending was. Whilst I thought it was quite predictable, like the second twist got me.
Yeah.
Because the whole episode's just basically a parody of M. Night Shyamalan's twist.
I think that it's called M. Night Shyamalan Aliens or something.
Something to that effect, which actually is quite a funny joke in it. Second season leaves it on, like I said, a really good cliffhanger, which I actually did not see coming.
Yeah, I've only seen the first season. I think my favourite episode is either the one with the love potion that goes wrong or the 60 Minutes, the one where it's just improv comedy across the dimensions.
Yeah,
I really like that.
The one with the love potion, is that 60 Minutes, you said?
No, I think that's Rick Potion 9.
Rick Potion 9, yeah. I liked the fact that they continue the story.
Yeah, let's not spoil it. Let's not spoil it, but there is a very real consequence to
their actions.
Yeah, and it ends on like one of the darkest moments of Rick's character so far. And that's saying something, given that he's basically a sociopath.
Moving on, like, I also played Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible game. Never, ever, ever play it. It takes all the good things from Amazing Spider-Man 1, which is pretty much all the good things from Batman Arkham Asylum series, and it makes it crap.
Does the web swinging work?
No, it doesn't. Not in my opinion, because it's it's not fluid. It's not fluid like in the first game, anyway.
Right.
And the movies that I saw, I went and saw another horror film called Lights Out.
Right.
It's basically about don't go into the darkness, otherwise you'll get attacked by this witchy ghost thing.
Right.
Just stay in the light, in other words.
We should probably keep our hands away. Just keep our hands still so we don't pick up on the recording. Anyway, yeah, you told me about that there's a point where it starts breaking its own rules.
Yeah. Well, it says that the ghost or witch thing can't yet. You know what? It's a ghost. It's a ghost demon. We'll call it a ghost. Can't actually attack or do anything when there's loads of lights on. So the woman's in her apartment. There's all lights are on, and in the corridor outside, all lights are on. Then she hears a noise, and she goes and checks outside into the corridor. Well, here's the thing. All the lights are on, so how did this ghost basically affect the environment when the rules say that she can't do it?
It's one of those things about a supernatural creature that once you've established the rules, you kind of have to... at some point, you have to try and break the rules or work around them. And as the series goes on... well, it's just a silent film, but as the series goes on, those rules become vaguer and vaguer. I think it was like is it Ju-on or the Grunge, where if you go inside the house, you'll die, is basically the premise. And apparently at some point they burn down the house, but that lets the evil out because there are no more rules in play.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense, but also kind of takes away from the...
It does make sense in that, but the thing in this film is that the breaking of these rules just don't make any sense at all.
It should be either when it's gotten what it needs. Like, it's after my necklace because it will gain immortal life, or you're like a vampire who, if he drinks this blood, this vial of blood, he'll be able to walk around the daylight again. Well, he's drinking the vial of blood now, he can walk around the daylight now, so we've got to figure out a way to deal with that. That's kind of when you can break the rules, but until then, it's just... it's convenient, writing for convenience. You need to make the scene scary, so you make the scene scary, whether or not that makes sense.
One last thing before that I've seen. I watched Stranger Things the entire season, I think
Oh, right.
about a day, and it's good. It's not as good as everyone hypes it up to be.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's overrated because that's
A very vague definition.
yes, because you can't really like define overrated on certain things.
You can say that people have built it up too much, but you can't say that overrated is a very poor definition of that because, well, who's rating it? Who's doing too much of the rating, right?
It's a good show. It has really good premises. It relies too much on tropes that were from, I think, the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be a send up to that time period. But again, that's if you like that time period.
Yeah, then it's all great for you.
Yeah.
It relies too many on these tropes that I hate, like the bully tropes,
Right.
which is very frequent in the 80s. And instead of just being like one like bully gang in it, there's two. One for like the kids' age and one for like the teenagers' age. And I don't like the bully tropes. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
They get annoying very quickly, and it's an excuse for characters to be dicks to other characters for no reason other than the fact that they're bullies.
Yeah, we'll get to that in this film about Don't Breathe. Money. Kind of a bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so we'll get to that kind of thing. That's a horror staple, basically. And I don't know if Stranger Things is a horror film. It might...
It's not...
It might... Is it like an investigation or something?
It's mystery with horror elements involved.
That's fine. I can tolerate that. Because as you'll see later on, I am a massive coward. Yeah, so... And let's see, what I've done is... Basically, anything you've seen on my YouTube channel is what I've been doing. I've started watching Hunter x Hunter. That's going well so far. Hisoka, I forget exactly. He's a really good, clearly villain. Like, they haven't said he's the villain yet, but he's clearly evil.
He's the one where takes the eyes of the family.
No, that's the Phantom Truth or the Phantom Troop. I forget which one, but he is the clown-looking guy. First of all, he looks like a clown, so of course he's evil. And he also kills, so far, where I'm at, which is about 7 episodes in, and he's only been in 4 of them, he's killed...
13 people, is it?
11 people.
11.
He tries. He honest to God, he tries really hard to get that number to grow bigger, but he doesn't get a chance to, so far. I've still got 100 and something episodes to go.
Seeing as how he's been like 2 episodes, I can only assume he's gonna kill lots.
Yeah, that's why I'm keeping count. So when the scene like comes where we need to redeem this character, it's like, okay, here's the list of people he has killed in chronological order.
You just you cannot redeem this character.
Well, you can.
In any way.
You can. You just need to try really, really hard. And the other thing I did was watch and finish Kill the Kill, and yeah, that's a really good show. I'm not going to get into too many details. I've done a first impressions thing, and most of those first impressions still remain. It's got a lot. It's a show with a lot of energy and enthusiasm to it, which is just very infectious. So it makes it a really compelling watch. The main villain makes my skin crawl. Very evil person.
Is she the head girl or whatever?
I won't say. But it is a case of I watched the early parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 and Hunter x Hunter, and there seems to be that kind of character in all 3 of them, and it's very this is a bad week.
Just all the shows have this one character that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah,
no!
And they are all. I think the character even starts to look a bit like Hisoka at certain moments, so it's kind of that's weird. And then there's Aqua Necklace and JoJo, and he was I hope you don't like dogs. Anyway, that was a really good show. The ending is really, really good. For what the story is in a broad sense, it's perfectly in tone with that tradition. I didn't cry, but the more I thought about it the day after I finished watching it, the more I felt like that would be a good idea. That's a really good show, and I look forward to seeing what that studio puts out. They've done a lot of things since then, but I haven't watched any of them, so I'm looking forward to that.
An anime we can both talk about, One Punch Man.
All right, yeah.
Did you manage to finish it?
I read the first volume of the manga, but I haven't finished it. And you did?
I did, and the final battle. I'm not going to say what, but let's just say Saitama, the main guy,
Saitama, yeah, whatever it's called.
basically One Punch Man.
Yeah.
Finally has
something that can punch. That even if he can get, is it like the transformation thing where you punch me hard enough, I'm not dead, but I'm still strong enough to keep fighting type thing?
Yeah, sort of like
right,
that.
Right, that makes sense for that concept because I read the first volume of One Punch Man, and what sold it to me, I haven't read much beyond it. I wasn't completely enamored with it to the point where I would actively hunt it down above other things that I'm currently reading. But what I liked was that, what's his name, Jiro, the robot? Cyborg. Genos, whatever. Like, his fight with the Mosquito Woman is very tense and very cool, and then Saitama comes in and completely derails it. But that shows that they can do really good action, and even if Saitama is a joke, they can still do... It's not just the joke of, oh, he's a superhero, kills things in one punch. It's oh, well, everyone else is having all these intense fights, and he's contrasting that, and that's really interesting. And then
it's funny because like everyone that has fights with like the monsters and villains and stuff have like these really tense battles, like what you would see in other animes.
Yeah,
where
as the climax of the
series or like episode or whatever
is the subplot while Saitama is riding his bicycle or whatever it is he's
doing whatever he wants, and then comes and kicks that bad guy's ass, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I think the strength of that is how what I'm looking forward to seeing is how many jokes can they make that are not just Saitama's kind of bored and stronger than everyone. And another superhero thing that we can talk about. Have you watched any of My Hero Academia?
No, I haven't.
All right, you should. If you have any interest in the Shonen Battle series, you should probably read My Hero Academia. We might do an episode on that later on, but we'll leave that for now.
Shall we get on to the main
actual
film
point
now?
we're talking about? Yes, we'll talk about this. So, Don't Breathe. Would it be fair to say this isn't actually a horror film?
Yeah, it's more of a action thriller. It's very suspenseful.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a horror film.
Yeah. There are horrific elements.
Oh, definitely horrific elements.
And a couple of jump scares, because there's a dog in this film, and dogs are...
yeah, it's a Rottweiler, so it's like
one of the
worst vicious dogs you can have.
When anyone thinks of evil villain dog, you will think of a Rottweiler. I'm sorry for people who are owning Rottweilers. I'm sure they are absolutely lovely creatures, but they do look really mean.
Especially in this film.
Yeah.
Because this Rottweiler is a demon.
Yeah.
It's a demon unleashed.
Yeah. Well, we might not be speaking literally, or we may be. We'll find out in spoilers. So let's just go for like a basic premise. Basic summary of like the plot is we've got 3 burglars,
thieves who break into people's houses for money.
Yeah, they steal the goods. They steal bits and pieces, whatever looks expensive, they take. And the reason they can do this is because one of the boys, Alex, his father runs the security company that supplies all the locks and so on.
So he's got loads of keys that are able to get into most houses.
Yeah, and basically what it is that he, another guy called Money, I don't know why, his parents must have hated him, and not as much as this girl's parents, Roxy, her parents clearly hate her.
Oh, definitely hate her.
Basically, all 3 of them want money. I think they're in Detroit, which is one of those things of, I have never been to Detroit, and I hear that you should never go.
Only through films and media that we've all seen.
And hip-hop, and anything that basically... I'm
sure Detroit's a wonderful, wonderful place.
I hear that there are actually parts of it that are actually really nice, it's just that the other parts aren't. It's like New Jersey. We might not know anything about them, but they are the punching bag of a lot of American media. So basically, yeah, the fact they're in Jersey means desperate to escape. The fact they're in Detroit means desperate to escape.
Yeah, automatically.
And the whole thing is that Money gets the lead on this house. It's in a completely desolated neighborhood. There's only one house in that several block radius with a person in it, and that guy is
a blind war vet.
Yeah, and he got a large cash settlement after
his daughter had died
in a hit and run. Yeah, hit and run accident, and basically, Money keeps insisting, right, if we do this one job and steal this guy's money, we'll be fine, and we can do whatever we want, and we'll be free from Detroit. Now, you may have noticed that this seems like a horrible idea.
An absolutely terrible, terrible idea.
And they do actually, to the film's credit, like Alex, who is shown to be probably the most empathetic and kind-hearted of these criminals, basically says this is a bad idea.
We should not do this.
We are stealing from a blind man, first of all, and secondly of all, a really good legal point is they have been stealing goods. They have not been stealing money before. If they steal money, they'll get done for grand larceny. Was that the crime they said? And basically,
for a long, long time.
10 years in prison for that alone, plus everything else they've done. And it's a case of he's probably got the most to fight for because his dad runs the company. If he gets caught, he's dragging his father down with him. And it's kind of a thing of, well, Roxy wants the money so she can escape her mother with her
abusive parents.
Her mother and
with
her
sister.
Yeah, and she wants to escape her mother and her boyfriend with her younger sister. So she needs the money now. Basically.
So we've got two characters that are relatively likeable and kind of sympathetic.
Yeah, and then there's Money.
Yeah, who's just not that at all. He's just a douche.
He's a bad person, and as a bad person, I think there's a minor moment in a first robbery where we're seeing kind of like how these characters work. So Alex is like very nervous, and he's just taking what he needs. Roxy's kind of admiring what rich people have. And
Money is just pissing on the floor.
And he's smashing people's glasses. I think that's the thing that set me off. It was like, oh, he's going to die because he smashes... He could have stolen that and sold that at like a car boot sale or something. Like
for a very large amount of money.
Even if it's just $5, it's still more money than it gets by breaking it.
He just smashes up the place for no
And as they keep
reason.
going, they keep basically building up the blind guy as this is a bad idea because army veteran. And basically, which this is starting to get into spoilerish territory, but what happens is they break into the house, the guy wakes up, and the guy wakes up. The problem is that Money brought a gun, and what they point out is that because he brought a gun to a robbery, they have given this man full legal right to murder them in his house because it's self-defense. And he's still an army veteran. He might be blind, but he's stronger than all of them. And boy, does he show it.
Yeah, there are several scenes where you can see he is frighteningly stronger than everyone there.
Yeah, it is basically what happens after Matt Murdock retires and then a bunch of punk kids come knocking around Daredevil's house. It kind of ruins the suspense of it if you assume he is just an 85-year-old Daredevil. And basically what it is he knows that he can't see them because he's blind, which gives them a minor advantage. The problem is he can hear them, and that's where we get the title from. Don't Breathe. Now there's more to it than that, but there is ultimately we need to get out of this house, but because this guy is such a paranoid nutcase who's boarded up all the windows, getting out is a problem. They only had one key and he has multiple locks, so it's basically trying to find out a way out of... Their only real advantage is that he doesn't know how many of them there are, and he is, by virtue of being a blind man in a house all alone, is probably scared of them. But that doesn't really stop them because he's stronger than anyone his age has any right to be.
I think one of the things that really confused me in the first half of the film was, when Money supposedly knocks him out with sleeping gas?
Yeah, chlorine something.
He just opens the bottle of it, puts it into the room and just closes the door. How does the guy just suddenly wake up 5 minutes later?
I think...
Because it doesn't really explain it very much.
Assume that because I assume the catch-all thing is military man knows what to look for, and also he probably that actually leads to a really interesting scene where Money does go into his room to check on where he's sleeping, and then he turns away for a second. He turns around, and the guy's just sat up.
Yeah, that was really freaking took me off surprise because you just see this guy just sitting there with. The blind eye.
Yeah, and he can't see him, but he is staring straight at him. And it's kind of an element of Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart. Well, the whole thing is the guy can't see you, but he can hear your heartbeat. And I think that might actually, I would assume that's where they got the idea for the film from, or at least that's where that scene comes from because it's such a good reference. I think they just try and say the guy didn't actually just go back to sleep. he just waited to see what would happen and heard them. And because he was a military man, knew that there was a gas thing going on.
That's possible.
But it is just a case of, like, it is just a case of, you just kind of have to accept it. There might be a scene missing. And I think we're going to talk about this a bit generally beforehand, before we get into any real spoilers. Most of the film is just really, we need to get out of this house.
Yeah.
Because because we've broken in, he thinks he's in danger, mostly, and he's going to put us down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is the struggle to survive against... They have the advantage if they can see, but they also have the problem they don't know where anything is. And this guy is bolting up windows as he's realizing people are in the house.
Locking doors and, like, basically also making sound traps as well.
Yeah, it's not clear if he's just paranoid and delusional or if he's deliberately saying you're not getting out of this. And that's part of what makes him an effective villain. Because even in the credits, they refer to him as the blind man.
Yeah.
Is that we know next to nothing about him. He doesn't say much of anything. He just kind of acts. And
he acts instinctively because as he was a war vet, he's obviously, like, worried that people are going to kill him.
Yeah. And you know what? He has pretty good reason to, given the scene he walks into. Now, one problem I do have with the film with that's going to get edited out, is that it's hard to tell how much the blind man can hear and do, because certain scenes he seems to hear more and certain scenes he seems to hear less. Like, we know you can, like, for example, we know you can hear creakings of the floorboards, but people are, like, scampering around and the rustling of their...
Talking quite loudly as well.
Yeah, even if they're being quiet, their clothes are still, as they're moving around, are still rustling.
Yeah.
Because, boots and, like, Roxy's got, like, zips or whatever on her boots, and they're making noise. So it's a case of how can he hear that? And there's also an element that maybe he can smell Roxy because she's a smoker. We established that fairly early on. She might have tobacco on her. But he seems to have a lot of difficulty telling where she is, at least initially. Like, there's a point where she is hiding and he is in the room. If he can smell her, he can smell her. If he can't, he can't. And maybe the other smell in the room is probably diluting it, but we don't know.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's actually fairly interesting to watch a bunch of people terrified for their lives against an antagonist who, for the most part, is in his full legal right to do what he's doing to them.
For the most part, anyway.
Yeah. And this is probably where we're going to start going into spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first one to die is Money.
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
It's horror movie cliche. The guy
and it also spoils it in the trailer.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Then I shouldn't have put that spoiler warning there. Money gets put down fairly quickly by the blind man in a pretty tense scene where he forces him to blow his own brains out. And it's kind of
fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's a very tough old man.
And for a dislikable character like Money, I'm just generally quite happy he died quite early on.
Yeah, because I would not have liked to see him stick around. There is an element to him that he isn't as bad as we would like to think, because he doesn't just murder a blind guy.
Yeah.
Which, like, to be fair, like, yes, not murdering a blind person, good for you, you're a moral victor here. When you've broken into his house and planned to rob him of the money he got because his daughter was killed.
Yeah.
It's still a sign you're a bad person.
Really douchey move.
Bad guy.
And also, he did have several opportunities to get out of the house before that.
A lot of this plot is basically, if you listened to the sensitive one, you would have probably you would have had to rob a lot more people to survive, but
that's perfectly fine.
2/3 of your group would have come out of this alive. Spoiler warning, there's only one... backup spoiler warning. 1 person out of 3 walks out of this building.
I'm a little bit disappointed on who it is, to be honest.
Yeah. It's horror. It's the other horror movie cliche of the girl survives.
I don't really mind that.
I don't mind that either, but...
I felt like they could have easily just not done it and had Alex survive as well.
I
think that would have been a stronger ending as well if Alex had survived.
I feel like it would have been a hilarious twist if when he first gets out the house, you just hear what happens to everyone else and he just keeps walking.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I tried. And just
I tried to tell them it was a bad idea. I'm just going to keep walking.
I'm not involved in this. I'm not getting done for this crime.
Yeah, it did kind of piss me off that Alex died and the way he did it. Like, if Alex had died, say, 5-10 minutes beforehand, where he could have easily died, but the script washed out of it, I would have been like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
He deserved that death, but basically, they're opening the door, finally getting out.
And he gets shot.
Yeah, because they think they've locked the blind guy in the cellar, and then he just pops out and then bang, he's dead. And like, literally, when that happened, I was like, no.
I'm still struggling to believe how he got... I'm still struggling to figure out how he got out of that. I think he just rips the handcuffs off whatever they strapped him to. But it is a case of like, yeah, we just have to assume he can do this. There's also an element to this blind guy, which is, I don't want to disparage blind people. They're more likely to listen to this podcast than watch this film, just by virtue of its medium. But I find there's a level of like creepy. There's a lot of weird stuff about this guy's house, and I'm not entirely sure how he finds out where everything is. Because I know blind people can, if they know where everything is, they're just fine.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, that's just how that works, adapting to that lifestyle. That's fine.
But this house is, like, massive.
This is massive. It's dilapidated. The ladder... There are no stairs to the cellar or the basement. It's a sheer drop and a ladder. And I meant to believe that he must be taking this very carefully, but he's moving very fast. And it is, there comes a point, of course, where they do have to make it like clear this is the antagonist.
Yeah.
But I would actually like to point out, I thought the funniest moment in this film is when Roxy and Alex are standing there while the blind man he knows someone's there, and he's trying to figure out which direction to shoot, and it's this great tense scene where he's sweeping the room with a handgun. And it's like he's pointing it at her, then slowly turning it to him, and he doesn't know that he's doing it. He's just guessing. And then a phone goes off, and he shoots it, and it's like a terrifying jump scare, basically. And I think Roxy almost screams, and it's Money's phone. Money has been dead for about 15 minutes, and he's still causing problems.
It's like, God damn you, Money. Why you gotta be like this?
But then his dead body comes in for the assist later on and helps Alex survive slightly longer.
Yeah, that was the bit that really got me, because really kind of pissed me off, because Alex dies 10 minutes later, but if they're going to kill him off, why not just do it then?
Yeah.
Like, the annoying false hope, glimmer of false hope just kind of really pissed me off.
There's a lot of... He survives a lot. Like,
yeah, he survives a lot of shit in this film.
The blind man is impressive because he's so strong, but for the most part of the film, he's basically untouchable. Alex gets beaten half to death repeatedly.
Several times.
At one point, he gets attacked by a Rottweiler, falls through a window, lands on a glass window that's starting to crack under his weight, starts to wake up. The blind man shoots out the glass, drags him into the bay, and then they have an extended fight scene in the garage, and he's still not dead, and he's still conscious.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, like, man, he's earned whatever he gets out of this, and that is a bullet, apparently.
A bullet, and then he's dead.
Yeah. Let's talk about the final ending of the film, which is...
final 10 minutes really just, like, shouldn't have been in it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It would have been a stronger ending if the blind guy would have just let Alex and, Roxy go, in my opinion.
Because...
with the money.
Yeah, because we'll get into what his secret is later on. But what it is basically, if they take the money... they can't rat him out to the police for whatever he's done. But if he, contacts the police about them stealing the money, they'll sell him out for what he's done.
Yeah, I thought that would have been a much stronger ending.
Yeah. And the ending is basically Roxy gets away with the money, gets her sister, moves to, I think, Chicago, San Francisco? California. And she sees the news report, and she sees the headline is basically, heroic army veteran... defends himself from two intruders and manages to kill both of them. And he's still alive. And that's actually a really effective scene because it shows what she's going to have to live with. She's going to have to live with the fact her friends are known as the monsters, whereas the person who did all this horrible stuff is going to live the rest of his life as a hero.
And also sequel bait.
Yeah. I choose to interpret it as the mutually assured destruction thing is still active. He can't come after her. She knows where the body. She knows what's under the floorboards. So he can't tell anyone, and she can't tell anyone. Now she can like send an anonymous tip to the FBI, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whether or not that'll actually culminate in anything is meaningless. And whether or not he comes after her or not, I choose to believe he won't. But she'll have to live the rest of her life knowing that he could. I choose to believe that he won't because, again, he's a blind man. He's like, there's a moment where she says, "Aha, you're worthless outside," and then he sends out the Rottweiler. But he's still. But if he were to go to a completely unfamiliar area, he probably wouldn't do. He would just be a very strong man who can't see.
Yeah.
And that's not as threatening, especially in a place that is as loud and busy as populated
areas. Yeah.
So as California. So I assume the whole thing is like basically she's going to have to live with the fact her friends are viewed as criminals for the rest of her life, and she won't be able to say anything about it or go back out of fear. I choose not to believe that there will be a sequel to this. There probably will be.
Yeah, because it is done quite well at cinemas.
Yeah, I think you could...
What would you do with a sequel, though, for this?
I would choose kind of an anthology thing.
Okay.
Different types of film that have a different... not another... Like, oh, there was an old woman across the street who served cakes during the Vietnam protests, who's now... in a wheelchair. Let's rob her. Oh God, no! Please stop. If you were to do it, you would do a vampire thing or something else or some. Do you remember what the original plan for the Halloween films was?
Yeah, to be an anthology.
Yeah, like
series.
It starts out as Michael Myers, then it would start out as Michael Myers, then they'd end the Michael Myers story, and then everything else would just be a different Halloween film. I think that could work.
Yeah.
Now it didn't work for Halloween because everyone loved Michael Myers, but.
For me, I'm just happy with the way it is. Not the ending necessarily, but just being in a film on its own.
This is a complete film.
Yeah.
And this is a good film. Now, the final 10 minutes, I will say, are fairly weak. They have to deal with the dog. Because the dog has been a reoccurring problem throughout the entire film.
I thought the way they dealt with it was quite an ingenious way.
It's a clever way, but it is a case of... honestly, I feel like Alex taking that crowbar and smashing it into the head of the dog would have probably been enough. Because that's a moment where it looks like he's going to fight it, but he then just chooses to lock it in the room. Which is, fairly clever.
Yeah.
But it would be a case of if they had just given him that one swing, that even if it didn't kill it and just knocked it out, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the blind man has to make another go at it. And there's another thing about the climax where she sets off the alarm, which is something that they've been trying to do for a good chunk of the film is that it was like, well, we can't get out.
Yeah.
But if we call the police, we'll have to explain ourselves, but he'll have to explain himself.
Yeah.
And we're basically, if our crime is robbery, his crime is whatever the heck it was. And it's basically...
Pretty bad stuff. That's what I'm going to say.
Basically. And it's one of those things like... they don't find what's under the floorboards. Quite clearly, the police don't look there. I want to know how they explain the basement.
Yeah.
And there is a moment where actually one of the subtle details I really like, and we apologize if you can hear the crowds outside. It's a fairly busy day. Where the reason... Okay, so Money fires a gun to blow off the lock to the basement. And the blind man comes down. At first, he's very, very scared and very afraid. But then when he realizes that someone's broken the lock in the basement, he seems to become more determined to stop them. And that implies that whatever... And as we learn, there is something very bad in the basement. If it gets out, or if word of what it is gets out, he will be taken... He will
be taken down.
He needs to silence everyone else in the house for his own secret. And that explains why he is so determined beyond just he's a paranoid old man.
You think when you see it, you think it's going to be the money, but when you actually find out that the money is in a secret safe somewhere else in the house, it's then like, oh, so what's actually down in the basement?
There's the thing about the film is that I honestly believe that this type of old man, who's clearly upset about his daughter... Like his daughter's killer walking free and just getting some money for it. I get the impression he'd probably just give you the money if you asked him for it. Or if you just explained, okay, I need to take my younger sister out of this town away from our parents, he'd probably go along with it, because he doesn't see... Well, he would probably slam the door in your face, or he would just leave, or he would just give you it, because he doesn't care about it as much. But once they get into the basement, it's like, okay, well, it's clearly not a problem in the basement. Now, when they got into the basement, you thought dead bodies.
I thought dead bodies, because when we saw in the trailer, like, their faces were all light up with massive lights from what they've seen. I'm just like, oh, right, it's going to be loads of dead bodies. He's, like, an actual killer. And that's why everyone in the vicinity is gone. I was like, yeah, that's a proper conspiracy theory. But that's right. When you actually find out what it is,
it's way worse.
Yeah, way worse.
Basically, the daughter, the girl who ran over his daughter is chained up in his basement. And first of all, this is really bad. This is one of those things where this is the moment where it starts to turn from vaguely nebulous, or a nebulously villainous old man
who's very fucking cool,
defending his home against invaders, to psychopath not wanting his secret to get out.
Yeah,
it's a very good, like, okay, now we know who the villain is, because Roxy might not be a nice girl.
Or Alex, mate. They're both burglars, so, like...
But they're not kidnappers.
Yeah.
Like,
or rapists.
Yeah. Well, neither's he in his own mind. And even Money is more moral by the end, because he didn't want to shoot a blind man.
Yeah.
This blind man's got no problems. Basically, this is one of those scenes where Alex is probably the voice of most of the audience throughout the entire thing, and I think that might be why you want him to live so long.
Yeah.
Because he's clearly thinking what everyone else is...
Just like, get the fuck out of this house.
He explicitly says, well, Roxy tries to do the noble thing of get the girl out, which is, fair enough. That is a very humane response. Alex's response is, if we get out, we can report him. She'll be found. Everything will be fine for all of us, but we
can take the money as well.
Yeah, but we can't lift her. Like, she's been chained up. Her legs have atrophied. She can barely stand, and she's wearing a muzzle as well, which is weird. And basically, the blind man, because he knows they're in the basement, opens the simplest way out of the basement, points the gun at them, and just fires, well, blind, and he hits the girl. And now everything's gone horribly wrong. And I'm sure Roxy is really regretting coming along with this adventure. Like, if she had died and Money had survived, this would be a very different situation.
Oh yes, totally.
For better or for worse. And basically, we learn that in the blind man's mind, because this girl took away his daughter, it's only fair that she give him another one.
So we all kind of know what that means.
And yeah, it leads to several very uncomfortable scenes, and probably the most dialogue the blind man has in the entire film.
Which is pretty horrible.
And it is all very well presented, because let's be honest, he's got a very nice voice.
Oh, he has a wonderful, wonderful voice.
Yeah. I wouldn't want it to sing to me or something, but it is like a command. I can't tell, I think we talked about this when we left the cinema, I can't tell if it's just he has an accent or if he's just barely spoken to another human being in years.
I think he's just really croaky in general.
Yeah. And I think it might be a mix of both, all three of them. So, basically, I think a moment where the film goes a bit too far is when he says that, what God would allow. There is no God in this world. Because that implies that he knows what he is doing is wrong. And I think a stronger antagonist of this kind is he honestly believes everything he is saying. As someone, I've just come off reading a manga where a major antagonist is some guy who honestly believes what he is doing is the right thing to do. If he was believing in this solely twisted form of justice, it would be it would have been a stronger antagonist. It would have been scarier. On the other hand, maybe some of the audience would have empathized with him more.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the strength, is that they need to definitively make this the bad guy. And this is where the film has explicitly become a horror film at this point.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, that's a terrifying scene and prospect.
Yeah, it was... What happens is, since the guy killed his daughter's murderer by accident...
I think her name's Cindy.
Something like that, yeah. He's going to do the same thing to Roxy now.
Yeah.
Basically make her give him a child.
Yeah, and apparently he gave Cindy a choice in the matter. He's not going to give Roxy one. And now, choice is a very loose definition of, I have chained you in my basement, you will only get out if you do this one thing. And they only have his word that they would get out of this. But yeah, this is still a very, very bad thing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Alex does come in out of nowhere. I forget. He's gone through the skylight at this point, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. No.
So basically, Alex just comes in and saves the day, and it's like, okay.
Now we're getting out. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way we're sticking with this man. There are several points in this film where a lot of what Alex is worried about is compounding their crimes on top of other crimes. But there is a point where the blind man turns out all the lights, because he doesn't need them. They do. And they're walking around in pitch darkness, and he struggles with Alex, and Alex manages to tip a shelf over and crush him. My advice, I turned to you at the cinema and I said, at this point, you should probably try cutting his head off, just to be done with it. Because at this point, what is your other option? Keep running?
Yeah.
Now, of course, they're in pitch darkness, so they can't. But it's one of those things of, if you just stomped on his face once or twice more, you would have probably gotten a clear advantage here.
And to be honest, like, if you'd done that and got the money and get out, like, the police wouldn't even know about it for a long, long time.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you can clearly tell, like, the filmmakers don't want to say, and if you rob old blind people, your life will turn out better. Which is why he kills some of them. Is to say, like, is this really what you want to do? I would have loved it if it was, like, an anti-piracy thing in the end. Like, you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't rob a blind man, but you also wouldn't pirate this film. So don't do that.
I'm just going to say this. You know the scene that we were just talking about where the guy turns off all the lights?
Yeah.
I felt that was not actually that tense, but actually quite normy. With all the characters, like, wide-eyed, just, like, stumbling around in the darkness.
I do like that they kind of put it all in grey. Because it's a way of saying there's no light, but with actually letting the audience see what's happening.
Yeah.
Some of the facial expressions are, of course. And it is a bit weird that, because you occasionally forget, they can't see, but you can see. It's been done for your convenience, and I'm glad they did that, because I would much rather that than just sound.
Yeah.
And that's kind of...
because it felt like if they had done it with just sound, it would have kind of, like, cheated the scene.
Yeah. It would have been more realistic, but it would have not been good for a film. It would have been 5 minutes of pitch darkness, heavy breathing, stumbling, and occasional muzzle flash lighting up the room, which could have been a nice effect, but
this one's better.
This is better from a storytelling point of view.
Yeah.
And a film is a story. You need to convey it all properly. So it was a smart film. There's a lot of smart filmmaking. Some of the good scene transitions.
There's a lot of really good cinematography as well. Like, the shots are really nice.
I really like the way, because we follow. Money goes up the stairs. We sit with Alex and Rocky for a bit, and the camera pans through the floorboards as he ascends, and then circles around the man's bed, and then gets behind him. It's a really tense, long shot.
And you also get to see that there is a gun under the blind man's bed as well.
That's another problem with the film. How many bullets does he have?
He has quite a few.
Like, for his gun, it makes sense because he can just reload it. But for the other gun, it's okay. The gun he gets from Money, I don't know. I don't know enough about firearms. I assume a 9mm has either 9 to 12 bullets, 11 or 12 bullets at most.
It felt like he definitely fired a lot more than that.
I think.
At one point.
Yeah, I think. Well, and then this week Money fires. We'll have to rewatch it again to get a proper count. But that's just one of those Hollywood things that happens. It's just what happens in all forms of media. Is there anything else to talk about?
I wouldn't really say so.
Because it's a very straightforward film in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It is a very simple plot that takes a very dark turn and ends in a way that some people...
I thought was weak. Obviously, other people would say that is a good ending.
The fact she gets dragged back into the house is a bit of a problem.
I think my final complaint is, you know that bit what earlier we were talking about how the man, the old guy, is like, his hearing and stuff comes out of like, whatever.
Yeah.
So, at the end, Roxy has managed to get the dog in the boot of the car, and it's locked, so it can't get out.
Which is quite clever, but...
very clever. It's quite a good scene, actually.
Yeah.
So she gets out of the car, she's on the floor, just like heavy breathing, whatever, gets the bag, gets up, and then you turn around, and we all know what's going to happen.
The blind man is there. But not only is he there, he got dressed.
He got dressed, and he also knows exactly where Roxy is to hit her in the back of the head.
Yeah, he probably can hear the car, but how does
as a dog, but how does he know where Roxy is?
Yeah, and that, like, she came out of the door. He might know where... Okay, I know she opened this door, but she's on the floor. How does he know?
Yeah, for several, like, minutes as well.
Yeah.
So... she's on the floor, she gets, grabs her bag, and then gets up, quite quietly, mind you.
Gets clunked in the back of the head, dragged back. We get the opening scene, which is actually a really effective scene of him dragging... We don't know in the beginning that's Roxy, and I thought it was Cindy when she finally showed up.
Yeah.
And they have another fight. And the big advantage Roxy gets is that she finally does what Alex has been trying to do this entire film, turning on the alarm. And what the additional benefit of this has is not only alerting the police, but disrupting this guy's senses.
I thought that was pretty cool. Like, they finally got the drop on the bad guy, but I think that came a bit too late. Because I was already, after Alex died, I was like, alright, I kind of just
we've gotten away from him twice.
Yeah, it's like why are we still doing this again?
We've chained him up in the basement. You've chained him up in the basement, so you finally got away from him in the car. You finally got away from him again. Now you for realsies this time is the end of this story. I don't think they needed to cut out one of them.
Yeah,
it could have been they didn't chain him up in the basement. She didn't get out of the house the first time, or they don't go back in the house for another fight.
Yeah,
it just needed one of those. Two of them would have been fine. Three is a bit much. My problem with that scene is, which is a good scene of him not knowing what to do. He is back. He has finally been reduced to a scared blind old man. Which is what everyone thought he was to begin with, before he's had all of his strength taken out of him. And Roxy is slowly beating him with a crowbar, because she's exhausted at this point.
Yeah.
And this finally... But the problem I have with it is the alarm stops moving while she's going in for her final swing, and she stops moving. Why would she stop moving?
Just hit him, goddammit.
Yeah, because she does hit him. Like, it's not like, oh, the alarm goes off and he knows where she is, so he counters. It is like the alarm stops blaring, she pauses mid-swing, and then has to start swinging again. Like, I don't know why she would... I don't think she would have that much self-control at that point to stop. But I do like that he survives. Well, it looks like he's dead, but now the dog's probably dead.
Yeah.
Of dehydration or starvation or whatever, because no one knows where it is.
Thank fuck. That dog was a pain.
Yeah, it was probably like it is as bad as the old man himself in a lot of ways. So that was Don't Breathe.
It was good. There's definitely problems with it, but I think the the good things outweigh the problems.
It's a very limited scope, so there isn't a lot to talk about in terms of filmmaking. But it is just a very well put together film.
Yeah.
People built up the twist for me that there was going to be a big twist. I don't think the big twist is as big as... It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's horrifying, but
it does evolve the film from thriller to horror film. It does take this man from antagonist to slasher villain, but it's not as grand as someone would think it is. Like, there's no genre-changing element to this. Should we talk about... Now, as a massive coward, horror advertisements scare me completely. Do you want to talk about some of the trailers that came on before we saw this film?
I think we should talk about Ringu, the new Ring film.
I think it's just called Rings, and I think there was another film that was also called Rings, but I don't remember.
And I don't think so. And the Ouija 2 sequel to Ouija.
I didn't know that was a sequel.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Ring. Now, what seems to be the thing about the Ring is the video that will kill you in 7 days has gone viral or has gotten online somehow, and
is basically a form of chainmail at the beginning,
and that is actually kind of a nice idea. Like, that's because the concept of the Ring, spoilers for a horror film from a long time ago, early 2000s, and then even earlier if you were in Japan, because there's the books these are based on. Is basically, if you watch this videotape, I think it's 7 minutes long, or something like that. If you watch it in 7 days, for the next 7 days, you will eventually be scared to death, or you'll be killed through some means. You have 7 days to live, and the only way to get out of it is not to vanquish the demon or the ghost or whatever her name is.
Just to send it on to someone else.
You have to make a copy of it, and you have to pass it on to someone else. And it is a dark thing that you have to make someone else die so you can live.
Not necessarily die, but like...
You have to make this someone else's problem.
Yeah.
And that's a very gruesome idea. Now, the problem with it is that it's all about a VHS tape. Guess what? It's 2016. No one has VHS tapes anymore. No one even mass produces Blu-rays or DVDs anymore. So they can't use that clever concept. That was actually one of my favorite jokes in Gantz Abridged. Is when... Because Gantz is all about, a bunch of people die and they wake up in a Japanese apartment building. They've got to figure out what to do. And like, because some of the deaths are not funny.
Yeah.
So the creator of the Abridged series just decided to say, okay, the handsome guy, he watched this cursed videotape that will kill you 7 days after you watched. The problem is that everyone knows what the ring is. So everyone knows you've got to pass it on to someone else.
Yeah.
And the explanation he gives to why he died is, do you know how hard it is to find 2 VCRs in Japan? And then it's basically revealed like, oh yeah, I managed to get another cassette tape player on the 6th day. Guess what? It was a Betamax player. So I still died. That's a great joke. The problem is it's true. You can't do the ring, again, without making it a DVD. And if you make it a DVD, you're messing too much science into this mystical ghost thing. I forget the exact name of the Japanese ghost. It is a type of ghost in Japan. Vengeful women kind of thing.
So now... this whole death VSH tape has gone on social media, and it's kind of sending this video around.
Yeah.
It's basically the same premise, but social media.
On a grander, this will end the world scale. I think
I think it's really stupid.
I think the books did eventually turn that way, but it doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, I think... That's not me.
It's not me.
Okay, that's someone's phone going off. Ignore that. I think the problem with it is... I think the scene that's on the plane is the one where it ruins. Because there's a shot in the trailer where because a lot of planes nowadays have, watch this film and calm yourself down and pass the time. And then the tape starts playing, and then the plane starts crashing. Either one of those things happens or don't. If it was just one screen, that'd be fine. The fact it's all of them is bothersome.
And also, like, by the looks of it, it seems that, like, you know how the whole video thing, you've got 7 days to live?
Yeah.
This one just seems like you've got, like...
It's creeping into this world. And there is, like...
5 seconds, and then the whole plane's going to go down and you're going to die.
I think the plot of it seems to be some girl is turning into... What's the name? Samara?
Samara.
Yeah, Samara or Sakugo. I forget her name.
Samara.
So, yeah, there's a Japanese... She has a different name in Japan, but they got a very close parallel to it in English, so good for them. She seems to be turning into them, and some of that could be very creepy. The part where she starts pulling out a load of hair from her mouth is very silly. It goes on too long in the trailer. Like, if it was just a single strand and pulling it out, the fact it's just like a hairball a cat would cough out.
Yeah.
Like, if it was
it's pretty gross.
It is disgusting, but it is like a scene like, okay, we all know it's hair. You don't need to drag this out.
Yeah, it's not going to be scary. It's just really disgusting.
Yeah. So... We might just do an episode on The Ring and not talk about the sequel. I don't know. We've got infinite possibilities for this vaguely defined podcast. And the other one is the Ouija board sequel. Did you see the original?
No, I didn't. I heard it was really, really bad, and it looked really bad.
Okay.
And this trailer, to be fair, still looks really bad.
Right. Now...
But very creepy. It's got some really uncanny imagery.
It's got some good things. Like, I like that it seems to be a period piece.
Yeah, I do like that as well.
And it is starting out with a family that seems to be scamming people. It is we'll talk to the other side. Well, it's just my children are making noises to make you think your spirits are in the house. It's a total sham. And it seems to be an idea that there is now, in fact, some kind of monster.
Yeah, what happens in the trailer is they get the Ouija board and the little child starts playing with it,
and then
which we all know is a bad idea in a horror film.
A lot of these, I don't know how much Would you like how many things in real life would you do that horror movie people do?
I would probably do quite a lot of them, knowing
Because
me.
as a massive coward, I'm afraid to turn out the lights. So I would not. It's like, hey, you want to go to Camp Crystal Lake? No. It's like,
yeah, I do.
Even if I didn't know about the murders, I still wouldn't go. I hate camping. It's like I don't know. Like, I also feel like Freddy Krueger would just wait for me to fall asleep, and then just have the problem like, how have you stayed awake for 72 hours playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth? It's like your powers are meaningless against my lack of caffeine. It's like now if you're attacking me in the morning, this is a nightmare. But for now, it's fine. But a lot of horror movie things don't work. But the point of this is the girl seems to be possessed.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest failing of the advertisement is showing that she is possessed.
Mm.
Like, very overtly, she is creepily possessed in ways that are not helpful for anyone.
I think, for me, whilst it does get rid of the surprise that she is possessed, the way that it's showed in the trailer does look very fucking creepy.
When she's not doing the CGI...
Well, at least uncannily, anyway.
When the CGI is at work and her mouth is, like, unhooked and so on, when she's whispering in her sister's ear, you laughed when you heard that.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
It's not very effective. But hats off to that child actress, the makeup department, and the...
CGI.
The costume designers. Because when she's just a little girl who's completely stone-faced and looks perfect. There's not a hair out of place. She looks scary.
Yeah.
She's just sitting there and it's creepy. Now, I would have much preferred it. Now, of course, this is saying I wish this film was something it isn't. And we haven't seen the film yet.
Yeah.
But this advertisement kind of makes me not want to, so it's bad advertisement. I think that would have been a stronger thing if it kept with the, we're a family of con artists thing. And the little girl, the older sister's rebelling, but the younger sister wants to be helpful. So she's getting more and more into it. And more into it, and more into it, and her voice is changing, and so on and so forth, and hinting towards that this is going to be a continuing. Is she possessed, or is she just trying to be helpful?
Yeah.
And, of course, has there ever been an exorcism movie where they haven't been possessed?
No.
Because that's part of what you're here for. You're here for the ghost, or the demon, or whatever it is. So, yeah, that film's advertisement is probably accurate to what the product is, but there's clearly something that I would like to watch in there, even if it doesn't seem to be very good. The mother seems to be like weirdly, no, this is a miracle. No, it's not.
Like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's like, no, your daughter is possessed. What are you thinking, you crazy woman?
It is amazing that the house is shaking under the weight of this psychic presence. But guess what? The house is coming down.
That's not a good thing.
This is still horrible. And I think the other thing we saw was, we don't know the name of it. It was something about the Bye Bye Man.
Oh my god, that looks so bad.
It's a terrible name for a threat. I know Candyman exists, and I haven't seen Candyman, and I know that is probably. I hear that's actually good.
Yeah, I hear it's quite scary as well.
And the name Candyman is inherently silly, but Bye Bye sounds
stupid. And to be fair, that trailer that we saw in the cinema wasn't even the best one that it could have been. I saw one on Facebook, on my Facebook feed, and that actually looked quite a bit better than the one in the cinema.
So, for those of you who don't know, trailer editing is a delicate art.
Yes.
If you've ever done any type of editing at any time, as someone who edits this podcast, it's difficult. And to do it well, especially with video components and all the stuff they've got to keep in mind, is an art form in and of itself. It is probably just as difficult, if not more difficult, than making a film. Because you've got to take the finished product of the film, and sometimes not even. Sometimes you get a couple of deleted scenes or whatever, and you got to make something that is a good summary of the film, and not ruin it,
and make it look coherent.
And you know what? Some films, like the Star Wars trailers, are very vague. For Force Awakens, trailers are very, very vague. That works because it's Star Wars and people are going to see it.
Yeah.
They can get away with a lot more artistic license than a lot of other films can do. And that isn't fair. Like, let's be honest, that's not fair, but it's just reality of it.
Yeah.
So, the people who made The Rings and the Ouija board, Origin of Evil, or whatever the subtitle is.
And the Bye Bye Man.
And the Bye Bye Man, which we don't even know. I don't even know if that's the official name. I don't care enough. Those people did not do their jobs very well.
If you want to go see a good horror film right at the cinema, go see Don't Breathe or Lights Out. In my opinion, those two horror films are pretty good.
Okay. And I guess that's it for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Anyway, this has been Robots in Sweaters. I've been your host, Ken Dog, and this has been my co-host,
Kokujo, and we will be back sometime in the future. Any idea what we should do?
No.
Maybe Rick and Morty, maybe One Punch Man, maybe My Hero Academia. You in the comments if you feel like it.
Let us know what we should do.
Yeah, any films, anything. Oh, by the way, go see Anyway, by the way, go see Kubo and the Two Strings. That's a good film. I should have mentioned that earlier. Never mind.
Bye.
Bye.